The Benefits of Being an Octopus, Chapter 7. I look up when a car pulls up next to us. Just please don't be that get that baby a coat guy. Can DCF take kids away from their big sister? It's not him. But as soon as I see the driver's face, I realize it's not much better. Because when you've just been humiliated and exposed as a totally incompetent person in front of a whole bunch of people, the next logical thing is to have your constantly nagging you about homework social studies teacher pull up next to you. Ms. Rochambeau rolls down her window. Zoe, I saw what just happened. Are you okay? Bryce still has his face buried against my side, his chest heaving as I rub his back. Yeah, we're fine. She eyes me. Are you sure? I look down as Bryce wipes his nose on my jeans. Yeah. I was hoping I could talk to you after class today, but you left before I had the chance, she says. Did you really leave your packet at home? Is she kidding? She thinks I want to talk about homework right now? I manage to nod. Aurora looks up. Is she your teacher? She asks me between sniffles. Does she give you graham crackers and apple juice? Ms. Rochambeau doesn't take her eyes off me. Is your packet really completed? I told you it was. I'm telling the truth. Bring it tomorrow. You can give your opening statement and then participate in the Q&A. I freeze. Maybe I should have lied and said I hadn't done it. At least I can always forget it a second time. Ms. Rochambeau leans closer. I want you to know that you remind me of me when I was your age. I stare at her fancy turtleneck sweater and big jangly earrings. No way did she start out like me. And back then, there was one thing I needed more than anything else, she says. I told you we're fine, I say. Her eyes don't waver. I needed to learn how to get people to take me seriously. I stare at her. Every single day, there's more and more proof that people will treat me how they treat me, and I don't have a shred of say in it. And I had to start with myself, she says. Bring in that packet, and don't sell yourself short. She pulls into traffic before I can say anything in response. If I do bring in my packet, it sure won't be because she told me to. The only victory of the day is that somehow the power has come back on at home. Which is good timing because tonight is one of Lennie's guys' nights. I'm feeding the kids dinner in our bedroom because those guys get annoyed with us quick if we're out there with them. But I didn't get enough chicken nuggets on my first trip to the kitchen, so I pick up Hector and slip back out of the bedroom. Lennie still has his jacket on because his second job at the nursing home goes until 6 p.m. But he's already holding a soda. And then I've got this new young supervisor who's on my back all the time, he's saying. You gotta wear these stupid plastic gloves, which makes sense most of the time because of how much disgusting stuff gets thrown out at old fogey homes. But this new guy says we have to be wearing them all the time. And do you know how long it takes to get a trash bag open with those gloves on? And then he's telling me to pick up the pace. He doesn't have a clue. He takes a big swig of soda and then comes over to me and gestures for me to hand him Hector. How long have you been there now? Slider asks as I pass Hector off. 4 years next month. They hardly pay enough for it to be worth it, though. Talk about nasty. Lennie flies Hector up into the air to make him cackle a few times and then hands him back to me. With Hector back on my hip, I go into the kitchen and pull the freezer door open. What you getting, Zoe? Lennie calls. Just some more chicken nuggets for Bryce and Aurora. I grab the bag out of the freezer. You guys never have enough, can you? He says. Just kidding. Here. He starts coming over. You won't be able to get the toaster to work without my help. That's okay. I pop the last 4 chicken nuggets into the toaster and jiggle the broken lever until it stays in the down position. I got it. Because that toaster is fickle. It won't just let anyone get it to work. I know, but Lennie fiddles with the lever and finally gets it back to how I had it. There, he says. Your mother can't do it either. I am not my mother, I think, but I don't say that out loud. Are you at the middle school? One of the guys calls over. Yeah, I say. I try to make the yeah come out like, well, of course I am. Is that Miss Rochambeau still there? At the mention of her name, I feel myself stiffen. He leans over the back of the couch toward Slider. Do you remember all that stuff we used to pull? Anything to try to make her cry. You were horrible, another guy says from his spot in front of the TV. The first guy laughs. What was I supposed to do? She called home when all I did was skip a detention. I got my beating, so she had to get hers. She's my social studies teacher, I say. I don't mention that she just pulled over on the side of the road to tell me to bring my homework to school. No way, he says, slamming the back of the couch. How is she still teaching? Do you remember those notes I had all over her classroom that said, you're an ugly hag and you'll die alone? He's laughing so hard he can hardly talk. She kept finding them for the rest of the school year. I keep my head down. I might not like her, but I wouldn't leave her horrible notes. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Bryce come into the kitchen. Out of ketchup, he mumbles to me. Lennie is at the fridge, pulling out another can of soda. Bryce silently hovers behind Lennie, waiting. But Bryce is so quiet that Lennie backs right into him as he shuts the fridge. Watch it, kid, Lennie says as he catches himself. Lennie never calls Bryce by his name. Says it's a sissy name. Somehow he thought the name Hector was way better. Once Bryce recovers his footing, though, he just stands there not saying anything. It's like he's still on the side of the road watching Aurora about to get flattened. Lennie looks closer at Bryce. Your eyes look weird. You weren't crying earlier, were you? Bryce may be somewhere else, but he knows to shake his head no to that one. Knows that crying would be the worst thing in the world to admit to. But I'm pretty sure every single time he stops himself from crying, his nightmare factory just goes and creates another doozy for when he falls asleep. Well, don't you touch me, Lennie says. I don't want to get whatever gross eye thing you got going on. And be a man about it. No complaining, okay? When Lennie leaves the kitchen, Bryce gets a ketchup out of the fridge, and I don't stop him when he brings the whole bottle back to the bedroom. Bryce takes the 2 rocks to bed with him that night. At least when he wakes up from his nightmares, the rocks are right there for me to hand to him all over again. Lennie might be good for our family in general, but I'm not so sure he's good for Bryce.